What is going on, everybody? It is Toffee Blues USA back after a sabbatical, and we'll get into why. Let's get with the positive stuff right now, though. Uh, we're back, so we're doing a show. You may know me already. I am Gerry, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, but also joining me today. And it's for first time to meet this fellow. I've heard of him for a while, and now I get to have a conversation with him, which is kind of awesome. It's Tony Sampson. Tony, how are you?
Very well, thank you, sir. Welcome back. It's good to have you back, and thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm excited. It's glad to be back. All that stuff. So Tony is just to go ahead. I have to give you a little bit of intro before I get into some other stuff. Tony's a member of the Chicago Evertonians, and I just have to say this. That's like my favorite place. I didn't say it off camera because I wanted it to be a surprise when we're recording. Chicago is like my wife and I. We've gone there for our let's see here, anniversary. I think it's when we went there, and we went to shows and ate all this good food. And Chicago's just an awesome place, man.
I bet you say that to everyone you have on, though, don't you?
I have not. I have not. I've said I've enjoyed being places before. I've never said, "Oh, that's what a hellhole." I've never done that. But honestly, frankly, of all the places in the U.S., Chicago is my favorite.
That's
Now,
good.
have I been all of these places? I haven't been a lot of places, but I've been to Chicago and it's awesome. So yeah,
it's a great city. It's a great city. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I keep telling my kids, I'm like, look, we're gonna go there. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna love it. we're gonna go to Second City. We're gonna watch some shows. It's gonna be great. So anyway, really quick, just to go ahead and paste over the weird stuff. The show was down for a while because I was down. Had the COVID coronavirus. My whole family tested positive. Everybody's cool. Everybody's okay. I've been back at work for a while. Do I still have lung stuff? Yeah, it's a thing. Be careful out there, everybody. My wife is cool. My kids never showed a symptom. My kids, like, were sitting there still running 5Ks and training, and going out to like juggle in the backyard and stuff. And they're getting their records, and I'm just sitting there wheezing like, "Good job, guys," But everything's cool. Everything's
That's
okay.
Good to know. Sorry to hear that. Anyway, glad that you're all pulling through and you're doing okay. Scary stuff, mate, but I'm pleased that you're on the mend.
Yeah, everything appears to be almost 100%. I brought a little asthma into it, which is why I'm not guns blazing. Everything's great yet, but I'll be there at some point. So enough about that. Maybe the last word about me, the rest of the show. Tony, let's talk a little bit about Chicago Evertonians, the Chicago fan group. I know where they meet, but I'm still going to ask you, where do you guys meet up? And give us a little bit of details about the group and any other kind of important information.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we meet at AJ Hudson's, which is about 7 miles north of the city. And I found myself part of the Chicago Evertonians and there when me and the family moved out here in January 2019. So we came out here for a little spell out in the US, and one of the first things that we wanted to do when we got here was, when we were looking for property and places to live, was one of the most important things was where we're going to watch the match. So football's always been a massive part of my life, thanks to my dad. So I became a Blue because of him. When we were back in the UK, we were fortunate enough to have season tickets. So me, my dad, and my two lads used to sit together and watch the game, which was, a brilliant moment and proud moment, because he first started taking me when I was about 5 or 6. So that's when I first sort of fell in love with Everton and everything about Everton, and all the things that go with that, the history of the club and sort of being a Goodison and what have you. So football's always been a massive part of our family's life. So as I say, when we came out here, the first priority for us was to find out where we could watch it. So we'd heard about Hudson's. So I'd been out here with work and managed to catch a game or so there before. But anyway, when we went in there, we were greeted by a Scouse accent. So a guy came over and said, his name was Stuart. He was sort of like the head of the group at the time. So he said, come over. It's great to see you. The lads were in their Everton kit, so we obviously knew. And there was a massive Chicago Evertonians or Chicago Toffees flag sort of all over the bar as well. So the bar's run by Big Blue as well, Jamie Hale. So, they're the sorts of things that make you feel instantly at home, especially when you're moving to a new city and a new country. So that's that. And actually, it's been going for quite a while. The group, we're moving in next year into the 20th anniversary of the Chicago Evertonians in some format.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's been around a really long time. So I think it first started when somebody called Diana McAnally, who'd actually studied in the UK, again fallen in love with Everton. And as she was coming back, I think one of her tutors or professors had been involved in some of the workers' supporters clubs in the UK, and said, look, you should get something going when you get back home. And she helped start then a group that was like a North American group, of which Chicago was one of the base. So we're going, this season is our 20th anniversary. So we're sort of, scrambling together to sort of try and think about what we can do to celebrate that properly, obviously with the COVID restrictions and everything. But yeah, it's a great little group. I think there's about 500 members sort of on the Facebook and officially, and we've got nearly 3,000 on followers on Twitter. But there's normally a core of, I would say, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 that go and watch the game. It depends sort of which stage of the season, how well we're doing, obviously. Right now, we've actually seen some new members from Colombia join us as well. They've obviously been intrigued by our new signing there. So that's been great as well. We've seen them sort of appearing dead early in the morning, and it's just great. It's just, it's nice to be amongst Evertonians, whether they're from Scousers that have moved here like me, or whether they're, American citizens that have, again, fallen in love with Everton, have been chosen by Everton. It's just a great little community. Everyone's as passionate as everybody else. And, we run, little events through the year to raise money, get together. Obviously, we've been held back a little bit, obviously, by the pandemic, but we're still trying to find ways to connect. So yeah, it's really helped me and the family sort of settle in and feel at home here in Chicago.
I mean, you're kind of getting into a community pretty darn quick. When you walk into a place and you're like, oh yeah, we all love the same stuff. It's amazing. It's great. It is. You've got your conversations are already laid out for you.
It is, photographs and posters of the same heroes that I had when I was a kid. So yeah, no, it's really good. And I've found that as I've spoken to different groups across the US, including where you are, Gerry. It's the same strength of feeling and depth of connection. So it's really good, and it's important when you move away as well.
Yeah, I would think. So you got to one of my questions already is why you're a Blue, and beautiful story, by the way. I needed to say that. I will say that's something that you don't get as much with the American Evertonians as much yet, because a lot of us are still finding ourselves as football fans, as soccer fans, and we're still trying to figure out how our allegiances work, where our love lies, and there's a lot of that. And so for me, I live in North Carolina, so mine was passed down. It was a sport. It was basketball, and so it was Wake Forest basketball, so it was a family thing. We'd go to the games, together, and that's the way that happened. So, but now I know me and my boys will be going, and it's going to, and so it's just it's just a different dynamic for Americans being Everton supporters. Whereas, when you got your dad taking you to games, it's a different world. And I would think it's interesting. Do you feel like that? I don't know. It has to be a different type of sensation when you've been living with it for that long and it's that tied to your family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it is different, and I'm fortunate enough to have obviously grown up in the city and seen that. And I was sort of just old enough to appreciate it when we were winning things as well. So, that was I feel really lucky to be able to sort of do that, especially given that we've gone so long up until now, obviously, without winning anything. But I think the way in which Americans embrace sport, and what I've observed since I've been here, I think is one of the things that has been a really sort of interesting thing to observe. And there's been a lot of debate and discussion, hasn't there, over the years around sort of Everton sort of being very proud of, the People's Club mantra, and, how being part of the city and, the club of the city is, has been part of the brand on that. And I get that, obviously I do because I'm from there. But, I think some of the times that's been done because we've looked over the park and seen, it's been a contrast that we've been able to make because of, what the other lot have been doing over the park. Right. And I think what that's meant is that it hasn't at times maybe looked to international markets or to the US to sort of really embrace and grow that. So, I think, I'm sure we'll get on to talk about this, Gerry, but, I think that's starting to change now. I think the club itself is starting to look, beyond the boundaries of L4. And what I found, and, I've only been here for, nearly 2 years now, the network of supporters clubs, Everton supporters clubs, has been building up over here for, a long, long time. And you cannot accuse, the thousands of Blues across the US and I think there's 50 supporters clubs of being glory hunters. So however they found Everton or are finding Everton, that'll do for me because, they've decided that it's their club. So, whether you're an Evertonian, it doesn't, you're an Evertonian. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I was wearing that kit back there a couple of weeks ago, and I went to my son's friend's birthday party, and a guy I'd never met before was like, "Everton, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why?" And I had to give my long speech about Yelovich, and so it happened, and there it was, and he was like, I gotta respect that. It's like, I really got to respect that, and it was that weird because I've talked about it before on the show. Sometimes you get a head pat. You're like, oh, an Everton fan. That's good for you. You're like, I like Everton. Why? Because we haven't won that much lately. Is that why we're not a threat to your team? And it ticks me off. I'm like, oh, wait till we win. You won't like us anymore. All right. Just wait. I'm saying.
Ready for that. I'm ready for
I'm so ready for that.
Yeah. I've been ready for that for years. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've also found as well, some of the people in the Chicago group as well, they've done lots of research to understand more about the history of the club, its roots, its connections with the community, obviously, what we've won in the past. A lot of people have been attracted to, the work that we do with Everton in the community. So, it's not just sort of, it's been a thoughtful process for them. So, and as I've said, I don't really care where you're from. If you choose to support Everton, then that'll do for me. And I want to see more and more of us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I'm learning more and more about. I think there's a tendency sometimes to feel like, oh, I'm not since birth, but then when I think about what though, I'm giving my kids that experience.
There you go.
You know what I mean? And so I'm like, there's certain things I can't help, but you know what? I can like I told you, I can brainwash the heck out of my kids. All right. And they, trust me, they know no red in this house. There's just a lot of rules.
Yeah, I can't see any red in the background there. So yeah,
just saying.
They're clearly getting a good upbringing, Gerry. That's all.
We're working on it.
Go, mate.
So let's talk a little bit before we get into a little bit of the football. There's one other thing that I think people need to know about you, which is the fact that you are, I mentioned it earlier, you're one of the first international Evertonians to join the Everton Fans Forum. Need to talk about your role in the Everton Fans Forum because it's something that I feel like a lot of Everton supporters need to be aware of. They need to know what the forum is and specifically why it's a cool thing that there's you're on it essentially. This guy in Chicago is on it. So talk a little bit about that.
So the forum itself is and again it's been going for quite a while now, is the sort of official platform, if you like, and sort of liaison point between the fan base and the club. So it meets on a regular basis with the club to represent basically the fans' views. So there's 15 members, all volunteers, from all walks of life. And as I say, the job is then to make sure that, fans are getting their issues taken up by the club and responding to those. So that's its prime purpose. And it's been involved in, lots of issues over the years, whether that be access to tickets, sort of, issues around the atmosphere in the stadium, even access to the stadium. It was responsible or played a massive role in the Holy Trinity statue right outside St. Luke's Church there. So, the club consults us on issues. I mean, it's been consulting us recently on things like the return to stadium plans, refunds to season ticket holders through the pandemic and issues like that. So it proactively comes to us as well. So that's its role. And I got involved because sort of having been out here and sort of got quite interested in the Chicago Evertonians, and again, managed to connect with a few of the different clubs across the US. And really, to be honest with you, my eyes were opened in terms of the strength and depth of, supporters and feelings, not just here, but actually, in other countries as well. And then realised that there wasn't really any way in which, Everton supporters in America or North America were having their views represented. So the thing came along, and I've decided to sort of throw my hat in the ring, and was fortunate enough to get on it. So there's myself and another overseas blue, Joe O'Reilly, who chairs and has chaired the Irish Toffees for years. Yeah. And obviously he brings another slightly different perspective because his group travel over the water, for every home game. So although he's an overseas blue, again, he's got a different experience of watching Everton like you have here and people in the city. So yeah, as I was sort of trying to get elected, I was hearing lots of feedback around, some of the frustrations from, some of the American blues and other blues about maybe not having a voice and, not being able to get an Everton shirt in the stores and things like that. So I thought, okay, well, I'll have a go at this and throw my hat in the ring, and sort of here we are. So we formed a little international sort of working group that sort of specifically is focused on the overseas Evertonians. We did a survey earlier on this year to get their views, and we've taken that back to the club, and now we're working with them to sort of try and build out the issues for international blues and the engagement support for the club. So it's good, it's great fun. I really enjoy it, and it sort of helps sort of stay connected to Everton as well, which obviously is important to me, as I've explained. So yeah, no, it's good fun.
No, that staying connected to Everton, that's actually one of the reasons why I did the show in the first place. It was like the idea of being able to just connecting with other Evertonians at the first. So having that as an extra way of doing it, and to feel like you're representing, other people's views, other people's opinions, things that stuff that people hold darn important to them. Yeah. That's awesome. That's you're doing some awesome stuff, man. I'm excited that I'm getting to talk to you and ask you all these questions. I'm just like, oh my god. But so I guess, I mean, I'm learning a ton about this, to be frank. So we do have to move on though, because I just realized I was like, oh my gosh, it's being a long time. So last question before we move on.
Yep.
I prompted you about this before we started. So if everybody who watches this show has probably listened to podcasts or watched other shows, and Tony's getting interviewed. He's the guest of the moment. All right. And so a lot of people are, I mean, it's just saying you're around. All right. And so I wanted to ask him one question. What do you wish out of all these interviews and everything and everybody, what do you wish you'd been asked? What's a question you wish someone had asked you?
What do I wish I'd been asked? I don't think anybody's asked who my favourite player is.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so. I might have just sort of blurted it out, but I don't think anybody, why do you support Everton and your dad and all the rest of it, but I don't think anyone's asked me, who my favourite all-time player.
Okay.
So
exclusive. Just say it. Tony's all-time favorite Everton player. What do you got?
Graham Sharp.
Graham Sharp.
So Graham Sharp, when I was growing up, for me was just, I mean, he and still is. I mean, I've had plenty of others that have come close to it, but for me, he was a brilliant player. I think probably underrated as well. But he was the person that I sort of pretended to be in the playground. And I'll tell you a story. they didn't used to have numbers on the back of shirts in when I was a bit younger. It wasn't a thing. They didn't even have names on there. But I remember the old Hafnia kit with the Umbro diamonds down the side, and I used to play in front of our house, pretending I was him. And my mum ripped up an old vest of mine and cut out a number 9, and then had to and then sewed it onto this replica shirt, so I could, sort of live my dreams of being Graham Sharp in the garden in front of the house and what have you. And she washed it, and it went pink in the wash.
Oh.
So here was I trying to, relive some of his greatest goals with a pink number 9 on the back of my shirt. So, it was good. But yeah, no, Graham Sharp for me as well. He just had everything for me. His ability in the air. He scored fantastic goals. Sometimes at the best of maybe scoring easier tap-ins. His control was superb. He used to hang in the air for headers before they came. He could get stuck in. He was prepared to mix it. He hated Liverpool as well. You could see that when he played. Graham Sharp was my hero.
So, if I'm talking to my kids about Graham Sharp, okay, and I'm going to compare him to a modern day player, who are you comparing him to?
That's a very, very good question. It's a very good question. I don't know. I mean, I see elements of DCL, the way he hangs in the air for his headers in the way that Sharp used to do. He almost used to sort of look as though they jumped up, sort of a few minutes earlier than before, the defenders. So I can see elements of that there. I think it's a hard one to compare. I think when you've got somebody that's so, you put on a pedestal so much, it's hard to have somebody come and knock them off, I think.
I believe it.
Okay, I'll swerve that question.
Well, you gave a half answer,
to
be fair. All right. So, yes, exclusive. Graham. Yeah. All right. So, part one of Toffee Blues USA is over. Tossing this card. There we go. All right. On to part 2. Let's do a short season roundup because we haven't been on the air. We haven't come on and done anything since when all this excitement has been happening. Everton actually looks really strong right now. It is really fun to watch, and it is an absolute shame that I'm sick, so we can't be talking about this when it's actually happening. So we've had wins over Spurs, Salford, and West Brom. So considering the different squads with cup wins versus league wins, would you analyze those differently? Considering the fact that maybe we're taking slightly different approach to the cup than we are in the league. Would you see that differently, or are you finding trends throughout?
Well, I mean, I think he obviously made big changes, didn't he, for the Salford game? I think he made 10 changes, didn't he?
So many.
Obviously to sort of do that. And we'd had obviously the 3 new players had only just come into the squad before the Spurs game, so I'm sure he wouldn't wanted to expose there. But actually, if you looked at the team that played against Salford, there was some very recognisable names in there, wasn't there? It wasn't as though it was a weak team per se. Obviously, it might have had some of those players that hadn't really performed sort of in the last couple of seasons, but it was still on paper sort of a decently strong squad. So, but I mean, what a start to the season. 3 wins, 3 games. There's loads of positivity bubbling around sort of Everton at the moment, which is just great. And I think, seeing them against Spurs and the sort of the fluency of the way they played and the way that those 3, James, Doucouré and Alan sort of settled in, it looked as though they'd been there, building there for years. So I think, to be honest with you, I think the way in which they took to that game, sort of surprised them. And I think for me, it's not just sort of getting the wins, which obviously is important, but even the Salford game, we've lost games like that to lower league clubs in the cup, in previous seasons, and they did a professional job. Maybe it wasn't the strongest performance. We didn't batter them 6-7, but we did a professional job. And then again against West Brom, we responded to going a goal down, and we showed that character. Yes, they had sort of 10 men, but we responded again. We put, we obviously, we took the lead, and then we went on to sort of finish the job. And again, that's something that we just haven't seen from an Everton side for a long time. And obviously Carlo's got to take a lot of the credit for that. So I just think it's important now that we keep that momentum. Obviously we've got Fleetwood tomorrow, and that'll be another different test. I think
Right.
Joey Barton, if you look at what he was like when he was a player, was somebody that put himself about, and I'm sure he'll demand that from his team. So I expect it'll be quite a testy sort of physical match. And again, he's bound to make changes, so that's fine. But look, we're overdue any sort of cup win. So I'm just pleased that Carlo's taking it seriously, because I think getting a win even in the Carabao Cup will be a massive lift for the club. So I hope that we can keep that moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like a lot of the headlines were talking about how we made such hard work with Salford, but if you look at the stats, we peppered them with shots. We had a lot of shots. I mean, how many times did we hit either the post or the woodwork? I mean, it was just several times, like in the last 10 minutes. It was just, and the progress that Anthony Gordon is showing is so encouraging, man.
I completely agree. Gosh. He just seems very settled, and he's comfortable with the ball. His movement is really impressive, I think, and I was really disappointed he didn't manage to get on the score sheet. And he seems quite a composed and grounded individual as well, and quite focused. Funnily enough, we were lucky enough to do a quick interview with him, with the fans for him. And nice. He was just, it was like he was sort of way beyond his years. So you can see that he seems to have, all the right ingredients. So yeah, let's hopefully he plays tomorrow. I'm sure he will, and can maybe get a goal or two.
I think you mentioned to me the biggest surprise, which is the chemistry. The new players coming in, and you're seeing a lot of positive connections. And we're going to be talking about the signings in our next section, so I hesitate to get too deep into it. That's been my biggest surprise, and it's been pleasant to see how they've just slotted in and look so comfortable, and they brought such a confidence and a hard-nosed we're here to get this done kind of a mentality. What do you think? I want to just say it right now. I'm super positive right now, but based on our play, are there any potential pitfalls you see moving forward at all? Are you just sitting here thinking, we stay healthy, it's going to be all right?
I mean, I think you've probably touched on it there about if we stay healthy. I think there is a depth to the squad. Obviously, I don't think they're like for like replacements, but if you think about centre back, for example, that's something where I think is a position where we are clearly vulnerable. Obviously, with I think Holgate's out for another 8 weeks, and Branthwaite got injured as well, so he's going to be out for a while. So we've just let Gibson go to Reading today. Yeah. So that for me is an area where I think and I hope that we've got a plan to sort of maybe bring a little bit of cover in there, because I don't think that sort of relying on Mina and Keane is gonna be worth decent. So we've got to plug the gaps there as well. I think right back as well is another area. Although Seamus I think has started really well.
Yes.
And it's been great to see. It was great to see him having a go at Kieran Gibbs as well at the weekend.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know if the video that was circulated by our friend Clay in Nashville, the Nashville Evertonians, yeah, clipped that and sent it round. He was texting me last night to say it had over 1 million views. So,
that's great.
I think they're the obvious areas. I'm not sure we've got the sort of either the right cover in those places. So hopefully there's a plan to maybe bring a bit of cover in.
Yeah, before the window shuts, it would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so because that's my big concern right there is getting thin, and one would think if we let Gibson go, because I actually like the look of Gibson. I think he's a bright young player, and I was expecting him to be with the first team this season, and I was a little surprised he wasn't. But my guess is they think he's not quite ready. Maybe he's not quite consistent enough in training, something like that. And they just want to bring in one more sure-footed center back. One would think if we're letting him go, we got one lined up. That seems to be the type of mentality that we take now. We'll see, right?
Yeah. Well, I think based on the last few we brought in, I think we need to trust Carlo and Marcel there, don't we?
I'm very okay with that. All right, so speaking of trusting those fellows, let's talk signings. Uh, we've made 4 signings. We tend to focus on 3 of them because 3 of them are starting in our league games, but one of them has been getting a little bit of additional run, and I just need to address the fact that Nkunku looks really, really good.
Yeah.
And I am so psyched because it seems like we're not going to have to sign an additional left back.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
No,
it,
I mean, he got rave reviews, didn't he, for his, for his performance against Salford. So yeah, no, I mean, again, great to see. And again, it looked as though, he's obviously been at the club a little bit longer over the summer. He was signed earlier. But again, very settled, very confident on the ball, very comfortable on the ball. His positional play was strong. So, and obviously with Bainesy retiring at the end of last season, having a bit of cover and a bit of challenge for Luca Dean is going to be important. And I think that's what's been interesting about the transfer strategy so far is that we've injected a little bit of competition in the squad. And I think one of the accusations over the years is we just haven't had that. So we've had players coming in at the end of their careers, maybe not with that much burning ambition to play for Everton, and they're comfortable with that. But now, we've got a little bit of competition in most places across the pitch. So hopefully that will act as as a catalyst for some to kick on. And of course we still need to get a few out the door.
Yeah, and I'm assuming some of those will be happening really soon, especially when they're talking about Tom Davies potentially heading to Southampton on loan. Just a lot of the rumors are starting to trickle out now that the window is slowly closing. But Nkunku has been a nice surprise, and we talked about the 3 starters that have come in and just gelled really well with the rest of the team. Got to immediately jump to James Rodriguez. I'm not sure if anybody completely knew exactly how he was going to be utilized. It's still been a surprise, but at the same time, when I watch him play, the plays he's made, I'm like, yeah, that's what I expected him to bring. It's really odd. It's been this mix of like, what? Yeah, you know what I mean? How nice has it been for you to watch James play?
Well, it's been brilliant, and I must admit I didn't appreciate the sort of the guile and actually the class that he had. I mean, obviously was very aware of his reputation after the World Cup a few years ago, but again that was a while ago. And again, if you look at his stats, I think he has performed well at his other clubs, but I'd never seen him really close up. So it's watching him play football. I mean, those 2 passes that have been on repeat. Against West Brom, that through ball to Dean as he was running down the left, and that sort of little scoop pass into Richarlison before he knocked it over for Calvert-Lewin. I mean, it was just pure class. And then obviously his finish, and some of those sort of balls that he was pinging across the park, against Spurs, and again it just looks so effortless. And his ability to spot the space, see the runners, and be sort of a game ahead was, I must admit I've been really surprised. I was probably more excited at the prospect of Alan, to be honest with you, just because I felt that was something that we'd really missed over a number of years. That a little bit of grit, somebody with a bit of energy in midfield, but also I think was add a little bit more than Ganner in terms of his passing ability. But that was the one I was really sort of looking for, because it's been so absent, and sort of James was a bit of a bonus, but I have to say I've been completely bowled over. I'm a massive fan already, so hopefully if we can keep him fit, and as you say, maybe it's on the right or wherever, cutting in, then we can continue to surprise people. And again, he's obviously a bit of an unknown quantity as well in the Premier League at the moment, so yeah, very, very, very exciting. It's I hear what you said. It's 3 games in. Let's not get too carried away. But it's just really nice to be positive about Everton after.
I so want to get carried away. I just want to tell you, please let me get carried away. I'm so ready, man. Because I mean, just to say it, and it's super cringy, which is why I would never post the videos. My family is singing at the end of games now because we're winning them, and we're singing, and it's so super cringy to everyone else, but to us, it's just like, oh, this is awesome. our team is winning. Oh my God. I'm telling you, like my kids were already before we signed James Rodriguez, we already would watch like compilation videos of him, because my kids like watching those on YouTube.
Yeah,
My kids got a James Colombia kit.
fantastic.
Okay. Yeah. They loved him already. So then like I think it was February, March, I heard a rumor and I was like, Bennett, you know, because James played with Ancelotti, there's a rumor that he's going to come to us. And like clockwork, Tony, every week he asked me, what's the deal with Ancelotti and James? Okay, he's 8. All right, and he's just, well, what's going on with James and Ancelotti? It's every week, and then finally, all of a sudden, it went away for like the longest time. I was like, look, man, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's
And he
off.
kept asking, and all of a sudden, bam! And I was like, little guy, you were right, and I was wrong to doubt you.
Well, you'll have to keep us posted on who we're getting in next.
You know what I mean? It's
You've got a way of seeing into the future, so
gotta figure that one out.
keep going. Because if we're bringing in people like that, then I think we'll all be happy. But yeah, no, look,
Yeah.
it is the positivity around the place. I mean, on social media, and all the the great pods that people do, the supporters clubs. Like we've got a little community within the US supporters group leads. People are bouncing off each other. It's just really good because I think we got stuck into a rut. So it's nice to sort of move beyond that whole Everton that syndrome and have a bit of positivity. So let's hope we can keep building it.
Yeah. Somebody you mentioned earlier was Alan. I think with Alan, I look at him and I see someone who has decided to take ownership. Someone who has said, I am going to own the middle. I'm going to own this space. It is mine. It's very Braveheart. It's my island. I own it. It's his space. And I love the fact that it's somebody who's not passing the buck. It's not someone who's like, no, you can get, no, you, no, you. Alan's just like, no, this is me. All right. And if you come in here, be ready. And he's not just talking to the other team. He's talking to his teammates.
Completely. And we've missed it, haven't we? We haven't had that for a while. There's a great clip actually in the Spurs game where Sigurdsson's out on the left wing, I think, at the edge of the box. Have you seen it? And he goes to close down in true Siggy style, maybe with pointing here and there and sort of standing off a little bit without doing much. And Alan just follows him all the way, almost as though to say, you're not going to do anything here, so I'll sort this out. And he does, wins the ball back. So you're right. And the responsibility, that's it. We haven't had any for a while, have we, or any sort of real character and leadership. So I think you're right. I think Alan definitely brings that, as does actually Rodriguez and Doucouré. So hopefully others can respond to that. And have you read Ancelotti's? Have you read Carlo's Quiet Leadership book?
Okay, I have it.
Okay.
And I've not read it because I forgot that I got it. And you just reminded me that I need to. No, I sat there like somebody was like, oh, I've got all these great books. You want these books? And I was just like, sure. And Carlo, that was on. And so I have it. I'm so glad you reminded me. That's awesome.
There you
Continue with your thought. I'm sorry. There was just a lightning into my brain. It's
obviously, it sort of, it delves into his philosophy there, but there's a lot in there around his style of leadership and how he trusts his players. Yeah. And there's a great example, I think, before an FA Cup final with Chelsea, where he basically sort of opens it out to the team and says, okay, what's the game plan, and goes with that because he trusts the players. So if he's showing that much trust in in his players, then you'd like to think they're gonna want to sort of win for him and do whatever they can. And again, I'm not sure we've had that for a long time at the club. So let's hope that again that continues, because I think having somebody like him where the players respond. Seamus talked about it this week as well, didn't he? About we listen if he speaks. We listen because he's been there and done it. So and he hasn't been here long. People forget that with the pandemic and the stop-start season and what have you. People forget. He's only when did he come? November, December. So he's not had long to get to grips with the club.
Yeah. I'm. That's one of the things I wish I want to do more Carlo research.
There you go.
You know, I genuinely, like, I want to do it in my spare time, and then I want to sit there and teach classes to my kids on Carlo. Like, I feel like it's that important. Uh, so last signing we need to get to, and I was telling a friend of mine about Decore, actually, and I totally stole Terry McAllister from Toffee Blues,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
comes on our show a lot. God love Terry. Haven't seen him in a long time because I haven't been on their show in so long. But yeah, so Terry in our little Toffee Blues group chat was talking about Decore. He said, I heard him compared to like the older brother who's playing with the younger brother's friends and never letting anybody else get the ball. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I showed my kids videos of Decore, and I was like, this guy we just signed, watch this. And he's literally just crashing through. He's winning everything. He's literally, he's almost like an octopus. He's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, Bennett was playing in a scrimmage game the other day at training, and he's playing against his older team, and he wasn't really into it like he normally is. And I was like, hey, Bennett, Decore, play like Decore. And it changed on a dime, and it was amazing. All of a sudden, he's crashing through. He's going into the tackle, and I was like, "That's yes!" And yeah, so Decore has become synonymous with going strong into the tackle now. I love it, man. He's a space eater, and he's just really positive, good energy. He seems really happy to be here too.
Yeah, completely. Well, and again, if you look at some of the people that we've had there, some of the players we've had there previously, and some that have left, people like Schneiderlin. I mean, it's quite. I know they've sort of performed different roles, but it's it's quite a step up, isn't it, from what we've had, and I think again the combination of the three playing together, I think it surprised us all. Maybe, well, it certainly surprised me that all three of them were going to start against Spurs.
Yeah.
He's clearly got a plan there, Carlo, to blend, what they all bring to the team. So, as I keep saying, long may it continue.
Oh yeah, and who knows? The funny thing is, normally this is already a really good window. And I'm trying not to get all greedy, be like, oh, I want one of those, but right now it's like, this is really good so far. I know we still need, but still, this is, it's so encouraging, and the prices, I just want to point that out. The combined price of these guys is staggeringly low. And there's a reason. Oh, that's what I forgot. I normally have a picture of Marcel Brands up there, and I don't know where it is. It got taken. Somebody took down my Marcel Brands picture. It'll be up there next time. All right. I had like a shrine.
He wasn't moving early enough in the transfer window. Is that what it was? So he ripped him down.
It wasn't me. I think it was my wife, actually. So she was like, not enough. Bam. So anyway, just a little respect to Marcel Brands on the price and bringing these people in. I realize Ancelotti was the draw for at least two of them, but the price was really good. Just saying. So anyway,
he's getting a bit of stick. So again, it's nice to see them. Coming through.
Yeah. So we will move on past the signings. Whoa, that was an oddly on target toss. There we go. That's better. So next, let's quickly go through previews. We've got Fleetwood in the Cup, and then we've got Palace. Get a little bit more detail with Palace. Fleetwood, to be frank, I've done a little bit of research, but I haven't watched them a lot.
Yeah,
I haven't watched them a lot.
I don't know much about Fleetwood. I don't know much about Palace, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, as I said earlier, I think Joey Barton sort of brings his own imprint, doesn't he? I think I expect a very physical game against Fleetwood, and they'll be up for it. He's a Blue, obviously.
Yeah.
I heard him talking today in the press around.
Me too.
One of his kids has sort of been teetering on the edge with the other lot. So hopefully we can bring them back from the brink. But yeah, no, I think he'll be up for it. He'll just demand 100% from his group. So I think we're gonna have to be on it tomorrow. And these are the games where we've maybe tripped up in the past. So, but again, hopefully, I wonder whether. I still think there'll be a load of changes, but I wonder whether he might not make as many changes as he did for the game against Salford.
So I want to get to that. The only research I have done, Fleetwood 10th in the league, right? League One, right? They They beat Burton, and I think they lost to Peterborough, and they beat Port Vale in the
Right.
last round.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so starters, just go ahead and give a quick run of who you think is going to start, and then we'll move on to Palace.
For Everton, you mean, or for Fleetwood?
Yes. Oh, I'm definitely not versed enough in Fleetwood to give no disrespect to Fleetwood. Yeah. So, who do you think's going to start it for us tomorrow? Actually.
Well, I think he might probably start with a very similar team to the one that he did against who did we play? Salford the previous week. So I expect Gordon to get another run out for sure,
Yeah.
and Cuckoo as well, as you said. I don't think we've got any choice at centre back, so I think it looks like it's going to be, Mina and Keane there. I suspect they'll bring John Joe in if John Joe hasn't left, along the back there, and then I think the rest of it will probably be largely unchanged from Salford. So, we'll see if they can continue to do that. I wonder whether he might give people like Balassi another little bit of a run out, just to sort of see if they respond. But who knows?
Tom Davies, if he's off, who plugs in? Do you think it's a Decore role, or is it an Alon role, or is it someone else, or is it a formation shift?
Yeah, maybe Decore actually. That could be one of the changes that you could see, just to maybe sort of bring that little bit of grit in there as well. I mean, I think Alan's been in Italy as well this week, hasn't he?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had like the goodbye party or something.
Yeah, so yeah, I saw him celebrating with his in a non-socially distancing way. So maybe he's going to give him a rest as well. So maybe Decore might come in there as well if Tom's sort of down on the south coast speaking to Southampton.
Yeah. I think I'll be curious if he gives Cuckoo a start. Does he give Dean a rest? And if he doesn't, does he throw Luca Dean in at center back the way he did in an emergency situation? I thought that was more of an emergency situation, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose then it just exposes Dean a little bit then as well, doesn't it? I mean, I'm sure he's played there before and he can do a job there, but I don't know, having somebody go in there and play out of position in a game, you don't want to risk sort of your first choice left back playing out of position in a game like that. So I suspect he'll leave Dean out and go with Nkuku.
Yeah, I'm personally, I hope we've got Keane and Mina as a center back pairing, because I want them to develop a little bit more confidence. Last match, I didn't think Mina looked strong. It was one of the weaker performances I've seen Gerry Mina put in, which is, and I love Gerry Mina, just saying. But, there was a few moments where I was just thinking, this is not your day. It just seemed like he wasn't mentally sharp that day, concentration off.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that's been sort of widely reported. I don't think it was his best game. So look, and the more they play together, the more that they're gonna build that understanding. So, but yeah, I think they'll probably both start tomorrow.
Okay, so fingers crossed, Blues actually show up and play. Actually, don't fall into that trap, the cup trap. Don't want to deal with the cup trap. Just saying.
Take each game as it comes.
Oh yeah. So let's talk Palace. Currently in, I would like to say, 4th, because that bumps Self-Awareness FC into 5th. I keep stealing. I think it's Terry's Self-Awareness FC, but they're in own goal diff. They've got 6 points. They've got 2 wins: 1-0 over Southampton, 3-1 over United. They lost to Bournemouth in the cup. I think in penalties, maybe it was 0-0. So essentially, but I mean, they're playing well. All right.
Yep.
United are not an easy club to play against right now. They're not easy, and they looked solid. They did not. It was not a lucky 3-1 win. The stats were, although possession was not in their favor, shots were more even than one would think.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's an exciting team. Palace, I think, it needs to be respected. Just saying. So, I mean, you're shrugging like you agree. So that's
I think. Well, look, they've started well, haven't they? So they've
yeah,
obviously got the wind beneath the sails there. So they'll definitely think that they can do something. And you've had this sort of on-off saga, haven't they, with Zaha? Is he staying? Is he going? Is he moving on there? I think Hodgson made him captain, didn't he, at the weekend to sort of maybe try and send a signal there. So but yeah, I think any game in the Premiership is, you can't take it for granted. But these are the types of moments, I think, that you sort of think a real test for Everton. We've been here before. Remember last season, it was like we beat Villa on Friday and we go top.
yeah,
And then it sort of,
yeah,
unraveled dramatically. So I think it's these points where we feel as though we should win and maybe and could win. Where we will really test whether the character and the unity that the team is going to get us through. So again, hopefully we'll do that. But let's get past Fleetwood first, eh?
Yeah, definitely one thing at a time, I would think. Yeah, but still, yeah. This is one I'm trying not to look past Fleetwood. Try not to look past Fleetwood because that's the cup trap. That's the cup trap. Okay, I've just talked myself not looking past. Okay, gotcha.
There you go.
So starters, possible starters for Palace. Guaita, just awesome name to say. Guaita. Oh, love it. Sako, Kouyaté, Mitchell, Ward, McCarthy, MacArthur. That tandem together. Yeah. Then you'll either have Schlupp or their new signing who looks so slick. Is it Easy? Oh my gosh,
Great.
the guy's so good. He's so fun to watch. My kids have been watching videos on him too. That guy's stunningly good. Townsend, Zaha, and Ayew. Probably see Milivojevic come in, Batshuayi. So yeah, I mean they have talent. They have some good players.
Yeah, and I think he's had a stable group of players there for a couple of seasons now, hasn't he? More or less, there's a lot of those have been with him, so they'll be used to him. So as you say, they've got the new lads, and they've got Zaha is always a threat. So how we contain that's going to be is going to be important to getting a result, I think.
So can we just agree we both think that the team will be unchanged from previous week, assuming there's no injuries for any reason?
I think so, and I hope so. That's he's obviously 2 different games in Spurs and West Brom, and he started there. Mm-hmm. And again, I think momentum's a big thing, isn't it, in football? So again, getting the new boys to sort of continue to sit within the system that they're playing and build up momentum and trust each other, I think is going to be important. So I think he'll go for an unchanged team. And I'm not a master tactician. It's not my forte. So I'm a bit of a purist in that respect. I don't. My dad always used to say, don't change your winning team, son. Just keep the momentum building. So that's what I'm going to stick with for Palace.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you on pretty much everything you said, including me not being a master tactician either. So, score prediction before we move on.
For tomorrow or for Palace.
Okay. I'm not touching the cup prediction. I'm not touching the cup trap for Palace. Okay, I don't want to mess with Fleetwood. Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm gonna go for 1-1 against Palace.
Why? Why does everybody say the exact same score I was about to say? It's
really?
Amazing. Yes.
There you
1-1. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Odd. Super not exciting. We should have talked about this ahead of time. All right. So there's your match previews. Last little bit, we'll call this the extra bits. Let's talk a little bit about, and we'll try to get through this quickly as we've taken a lot of Tony's time this evening. James Rodriguez, international impact, pretty immense. And just thinking about just solely considering social media impact. I mean, the amount of followers he has is staggering. And I had no idea that he was like the 4th most followed footballer.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. Yeah. And that player plays for us now. Yeah. And he looks great. So bringing in not only Colombians, right? it's tapping into a much wider world base, and South Americans and other countries that just find hummus to be just really amazing just to watch, right?
Yeah.
Thought it was really rad. The Times Square, yeah, that was so cool. And then Spurs was like, "Oh, you did it, so let's do it too."
Yeah, I saw that today actually. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's always a good sign, isn't it, when people start following what you're doing?
I'm fine with that. I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. But my buddies who are Spurs fans, I'm just like, man. It was funny. One of my boss, who's a friend of mine, is like a Spurs fan. And I walked in one day and he was like, "Oh, you guys signed Hamas, man." It's like you guys just always sign the washed up players.
But he's not saying that now, eh?
Quarter of the way into the game, I get a text that says, "Oh my God." And the guy's he's an avid football supporter, so he's probably just busting my chops. But still, I don't think he realized Hamas was going to be that like that. I mean, it's pretty. What are the kind of things that kind of an international impact like this worldwide? What's the kind of thing that this could actually do for Everton? Like what could change? I guess is a real question, because I haven't actually thought about it.
Yeah. Well, I think the potential is massive, and I'm obviously very interested in this. Because some of the work that we do with the fans forum is, we've heard that maybe Everton hasn't really exploited or maximised the opportunity, to expand in specifically the US, but in other markets. So, and if you're looking, whether it's in sport or business or anything else, I think if you're looking to expand, you've got to have something that people are going to be interested in for you to enable to do that. And obviously in football, the first thing is you've got to have a successful team, or that helps because that builds your notoriety and your brand and your awareness, and obviously the players and the resources and the money that go with that. And again, we haven't had that for some time, and hopefully that's going to change with Carlo. I think the second thing in football, if you haven't got that, is something or somebody that has got that appeal that is going to draw people in. And clearly, we've got that, haven't we, with Hammers, just based on his sort of social, media sort of pulling. And like just a very practical example of that in Chicago, we've had 10 new members join the group since the start of the season. Colombians, so Dio, Monica, Paula, there's a big group of them, and they were even there like for the 6:30 a.m. kickoff against West Brom. So, they're showing that they, the pull of this, and that's obviously on a very sort of micro level. And then the other thing it does is it allows you to think about the other areas where you can really accelerate your expansion plans by looking at the types of partnerships that you can bring in. So, I think the ingredients are all there now for Everton to really maximise that. I mean, I think that the club's been criticised in the past years about, not doing enough with the likes of Tim Howard and Landon Donovan and Brian McBride, who's a Chicago Evertonian, by the way. Yeah, he helped us out with a fundraiser last year, but that we haven't maximised that opportunity, and I think the criticism's sort of been fair, but the conditions were different. And now we've sort of we're in this position. I think there's a real chance to sort of accelerate the plans that the club's got. It's already been doing stuff internationally, so it's got this affiliate international affiliate club scheme. So it's partnered with 2 or 3 clubs around the US and Australia actually to build brand awareness, sort of do stuff within the sort of local soccer communities with the youth communities, and do training with clubs there. It was doing that. It did this online friendly. I don't know if you saw that, with Inter Miami. It was actually due to be out here this summer. So Everton would have been doing a US tour if obviously if the pandemic sort of hadn't have come along. So the club had already signalled its intentions, but what it does now is it really allows them to sort of accelerate those plans. And I think you've got to give the club credit for the way in which you got ahead of the Hammers announcement. The Times Square stuff, the billboard on the boat on Miami Beach,
Saw that.
the building in Bogota, They're the types of things that really sort of set the stall out. And I was really excited. I think everyone was. So it's announced that it wants to open an office in the US as well.
I was going to ask about that. How does that work? Because immediately I'm like, yes, and then I'm like, hold on, how do I tell my kids what this means?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think it's great that they've decided that there needs to be a sort of physical base here, because obviously you will know having people that understand the market that you're trying to capitalize and expand into is really important. Combined with obviously what Everton brings in terms of brand. So my understanding is that it's primarily going to be a sort of marketing and sort of sales outlet. I think they're going to be using that to develop some of the distribution models they've got from a merchandising perspective. I think it also maybe helps some of the existing network of supporters clubs and build that engagement, and then obviously also I assume sort of try and establish some broader and longer term partnerships as well. So that's the plan. And I think they want to get a blend of understanding of how the markets work here and how to capitalize on that with people that know what Everton's all about. Because again, I think the combination of all the things we just talked about James and the reach and the notoriety and the social media opportunities and the partnership opportunities with this unique club. And obviously we would say this because we're Evertonians, but the brand, the history of the club, what we stand for, the work that we do beyond just sort of on the pitch and off the field, I think there's potentially quite a powerful combination there. So fair play. I think they've made, they've really been ambitious in what they've got to do. So I think the important thing now is two things from my perspective is, one, it materializes, and the opportunity is realized. And secondly, the network of supporters, particularly in the USA here, that, as I say, have built up over here for years and years, that they're involved in sort of this part of it as well, because they've sort of stood by by the club through thick and thin. So helping them to grow and generate new members and is going to be important. So that's what I've been talking to the club with. We met with them a few weeks ago at the fans forum to talk through what their plans were for the international supporters clubs, and the recommendations that we made from our survey earlier on in the year they've taken seriously and they're taken on board. So we hope that those plans come to fruition. So it's exciting times, really exciting times, and I'm just looking forward to just building the community, Gerry. That's what's been great, when you're sort of not in the city, and just seeing the community come together and grow. You're seeing it on social media, helped by the positive results, of course, but there's nothing better just seeing Evertonians come together. And sort of, as I say, not just being positive, but connecting with each other, sharing stories, like you're doing, and some of the other sort of fan media groups, and building that network it's brilliant, because everyone's got their Everton story, and what we've got to do now is make sure we go and find the Evertonians of the future.
Yes, yeah, that's wonderful. I think one of the things you said there was actually going to be my question. When it's a really good sum up when you said is just building the community. It's what it's like. That's my undercurrent. What I'm understanding from you here is that it's all about, kind of sharing Everton and finding people who already share Everton with you, and just kind of making those connections and kind of making it more worldwide. People are already there, but it's also kind of making sure like people understand what the club is about and giving them the opportunity, giving Everton the visibility to be able to be found as well.
Yeah.
From some of these people who were like me years ago.
Absolutely.
Didn't have a club, didn't know, but just sat there and said, I love this, and I want to care. I want this to mean more than just a passing fancy. I want this to be something I share with my family, something I share with my friends, something developing the community right there.
Yeah.
So,
and everyone's got it, as you say. You've had Cameron from the Carolina Toffees, and on your show. It's the same for him. And speaking to John Dushak at the DC Toffees yesterday.
Right.
He's got loads of great ideas about how to build a connection. Clay in Nashville, Rich in Philadelphia. The Blues are everywhere. So the more that we can do to keep connecting, even in the group that we've sort of brought together of the supporters group leads, they're bouncing ideas off each other around what's the best way to bring new members in, how can they engage some of the younger Evertonians, what are the best benefits they can offer as with being part of a supporters group. So I think we've got to embrace that and as you say, keep connecting and building this great thing that's Everton.
Yeah, that's just beautiful, and I'm not gonna follow that up. That was that's a hell of a wrap up line. So let's go ahead and wrap up then, because Tony's just like a poet. It's beautiful. Anyway, I want to go ahead and say, thanks very much to Tony for coming on. Tony, it's nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you. It's exciting. I see you all over Twitter, and for everybody's just like, hey, spread the word. Spread the word about Tony. Let's get him on the forum. Let's do this. And now I'm talking to you. It's really cool. So thanks so much for your time. Really, really appreciate everything you do.
Well, thanks for having me on. It's really nice to meet you, and keep doing what you do as well. I think it's important that we can get the word out. So keep going, and thanks again for having me on. It's been really nice to catch up with you, Gerry, and hope the family continues to recover.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I feel spoiled getting to do this, because this is just connecting with Blues and talking Everton. It's just, feel a little spoiled at times. So thanks so much, buddy. So to everybody else out there, thanks so much for watching / listening to Toffee Blues USA. If you can check out, I want to make sure really quick before I go, I do want to plug Tony's Everton Chicago, the Chicago Evertonians. Keep an eye on that. Anyone in that area, people drive in from all over to be a part of that group. So please, anything else that I should be mentioning for you, Tony?
Yeah, I think the only other thing is the fans forum as well. So EFC fans forum on Twitter and the usual sort of Facebook and other channels. So yeah, check us out. And if anyone's got any questions or anything or ideas, then DM us or just get in touch. Our ears are open.
Yes, there you go. So pay attention, get with that, because this is just good work. This is just good work for Everton all over. So last thing, I got to do the typical plugging. Follow the Toffee Blues on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if for some reason, if it's getting close to Christmas, you want a children's book for your kid, Randolph the Christmas Moose, conceived on the Toffee Blues podcast by total accident. That's explained in other episodes. So anyway, there it is. That's a book I wrote. Yeah, it's a silly thing. Anyway, for everybody else out there, thanks so much. Much love. Blues, keep it going. Keep it rolling. Tony, take care, buddy. Have a good one.
You too, mate. Cheers, Gerry.
All right. And bye, everybody.